maybe advice or just on your experience. So what advice would you give to overseas doctors who are thinking about relocating to the UK?
Well, you have to plan it in advance. So again, get your police certificate, get your what is the other one? The English language exam, get your registration.
How long would you say to get that before you're really looking to apply for jobs and interview? Like 6 months, 12 months? How?
No, I would say 2, 3, 4 months, but get it. Have it aligned, because once you get a job offer and you apply for your visa, it takes a couple of weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and things fall into place. And you can't wait for those things from the South African side. That takes a long time. Then the other thing is, work is work, hospital is a hospital. It really doesn't matter which hospital you work for in the NHS. Just get into a trust, start working, and from there things will fall in place. The other thing is, you must decide whether you want to live in a town or a city or a village, which are quite different. Because if you live in a village like we do, and we love it, it's small, it's lovely, it's rustic, you've got a pub and a little church and all that, but then you need a car to drive to work and back. If you live in a town, you can use public transport. So those are just practicalities. Speaking of a car, when you have a South African license, you have 1 year to convert it into an English or a UK driver's license.
You don't have to write an exam, you would just have the paperwork,
post it,
get it back. It's a smooth process, but if you leave it longer than a year, you're not allowed to drive.
Oh no, so in a village, that would be a huge problem.
That will be a problem. But yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe also, I think something that could be challenging is getting your children into a school.
Yes.
So we didn't plan for a private school, but because of COVID, the schools just didn't want to see me. I couldn't see any of the schools. So eventually we enrolled our son in a private school. We have only one, so it's possible. But if you have 3 children, you might not be able to do that. So that's something that's also can be challenging, and I think a bit more support from maybe the agency can be useful there for people that have got children.
How did you decide on the school? I know private you didn't have as many options, but did you Google it? Did you?
No, it's just up the road.
It's in the next village.
It's in the next village.
So it was just a practical one. So trying to get an interview with the headmaster for our son was impossible in the time of COVID. So when you enroll into a school, you must be in the geographical area of the school, or you must make a lot of noise at the headmaster to get them in, because you look at the Ofsted grading of the school, is it good or outstanding? And schools are rather different than in South Africa. So normally you would have a school with sports associated with that school. Here it's not the case. So you have your sport clubs outside of the school. So you'll play rugby or football at a club, and at your school it will only be academics. And then there's the difference between the GCSEs and the A levels that people don't always know or understand.
So yes, I think in your just getting back to your question about the planning, I think probably the most important thing before you make the decision is you have to be very clear why you want to do this. If you are younger, you have a bit more scope because you can always go back and you can go somewhere else. If you're a little bit older, you don't have that maneuverability. So and there are times when you think, what have I done? Why have I done this? And then you have to be very clear on the reasons why you make this move at this point in your life. And if you are not certain about your motives, it can be very hard because invariably you miss friends, you miss family. It takes time to make new friends. It takes, and particularly if you're older, you can't replace friends that you've known for 20 years. So you have to really have very clear goals on and motivations for transferring from one country to another.
Where did you make friends at? Have you made friends? Have you found it easy making friends?
She talks to everybody. So walking the dog, and the fields at the back of the village.
Yes,
It's
well,
just
COVID helped in that sense because everybody was outside
walking the dogs.
working their dogs. So you really just have to make the effort, and South Africans have the advantage there that we are welcoming and we are warm, and most of the time not everybody will respond to that, but you will find people that will respond, and we have been very blessed and lucky to have actually made British friends and over and above South African friends that we've had for years that live here now. So it takes effort and
but worthwhile doing
worthwhile doing that,
and go to your local pub.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And then final questions was just what made you decide to work with an agency rather than applying to the trusts directly for roles? What made you decide to? Did you use an agency? I assume you used an agency when you locumed back in 2000s, or?
Yes, and I was directed to A&E Agency by a student who worked in South Africa many years ago. So Gash told me that to use this agency, but it's just easier in terms of logistics of assisting in planning and paperwork and pressurizing you and checking up and following up and getting you into interviews. So Shaq is good at that, pressing the guys to get you into interviews. And the more interviews you do, the better you get at it, and the bigger your chances are.
I think it's get confidence as well, isn't it? Like sometimes your first interview is getting a feel for it, and the confidence you want to have a couple lined up so that you've got the best chance to have options.
And I think also that he knew the market, so he actually had a better understanding of matching the skills with the jobs. Whereas if you just read a job profile and you just apply that person, that you might be one of umpteen applications. Whereas with him, he obviously there's a connection between the different the agency and the different trusts, and in the end, IT is wonderful and all these things, but people really make a difference.
Thank you so much. So my last question was, how was your experience with the agency? But I think you've covered it. It sounded like Shaq's done a really good job, and that you're happy. So yeah, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate that. It's sunnier where you are than Manchester, but it's a gorgeous Friday afternoon, and I'm sure you